Hello YouTube, Sidekick here with another Community A-4E Instant Action Mission tutorial. Today we're looking at a mission called Runway Runaway. The mission will be included eventually in the version 2 A-4E release package. If you don't have that package yet, you can also get an advanced copy of the mission on my Discord server, and the link is in the description. For the mission today, we're going to be obviously bombing a runway, given the name. We're going to start back here out to sea, and up ahead here somewhere is a runway. And we're going to have to find that runway, and then we're going to have to fly down along the runway and drop a load of Snakeyes along the runway. So the trick is we not only have to find the runway, we have to find it coming from the right direction. There are a couple of ways of doing that using the Nav Computer and the A-4E. I've actually talked about them in more detail in a couple of earlier videos. You can always go back and watch those if you want. So both options of using the Nav Computer are available in the Instant Action mission. You can either choose waypoint or target depending on which way you want to fly the mission. I'll show you both in this tutorial. So let's start with the waypoint method and let's go jump in the cockpit. All right, here we are in the cockpit of our trusty A-4E. Simulation is paused. We're going to get set up. First of all, we need to set the Nav Computer selector to waypoint 1 or D1. Then we need to set the radar altimeter mode to C. We'll hide the control column. Then we need to set the BDHI selector to Nav Computer, the weapons selector to bombs. We need to select pylons 2, 3, and 4. Set the release quantity to 9. We're actually carrying 8. Set the release interval to 200 milliseconds, ripple single, and I think we're just about ready to go master arm on. One quick look around, and we're just about ready to go. Okay, so using the waypoint method, this is how we're going to find the runway coming at it from the right direction. The waypoint is actually the destination point for the Nav Computer, and that's what's set in the BDHI right now. So you can see we're headed more or less north, and the white arrow pointing at the little white triangle means that we are basically flying towards our destination point, which is waypoint 1. So what we're going to do is when we get to the waypoint is set such that it is about 13.5 nautical miles off the end of the runway at a bearing of 220 degrees, meaning that if we fly straight from the waypoint to the runway, we'll hit the runway going 40 degrees, the reciprocal of 220. So we're going to fly up to the waypoint, and then we're going to turn, and we're just going to maintain a heading of 40 degrees after we make the turn. We're going to fly for 13.5 nautical miles and hit the runway. So actually we're going to fly for 9 nautical miles until we're somewhere around 4 or 5 nautical miles from the runway. We're going to do a little pop-up just to correct our final approach, and then we're going to fly at the runway at an absolutely minimum altitude, and hopefully we're going to drop a bunch of Snakeyes right down the length of the runway. So let's see how that works out. So for this mission, we have a little helpful green smoke mark up there that's actually at the waypoint. But even if we didn't, you could be looking at the BDHI range number and see that we're getting very close to the time when we want to make the turn and make it right around. So we've sort of slowly been coming down in altitude. It's getting pretty important now that we stay low. There really is a lot of flak around this airfield. And if you get up too high, they are going to make your life both short and miserable. So we're going to try and stay down around 500, and then especially when we get in closer, we're going to really get low. So the first thing we need to do is fly until we get about 9 miles on the Nav Computer, which says we've flown 9 miles away from the waypoint. So we should be within 5 miles of the target. At that point, we should be pretty close that if we pop up just a little bit, The runway's big enough, we should be able to see the runway, and then we'll just have to get ourselves finally aligned on the runway for the final run-in. Okay, I think we're getting close enough now that it's time to take a little look. So we'll just pop up here, look for that runway, for the runway. Okay, I see it over a bit there to the right. Down. And we really want to stay low. Neighbors are going to start getting annoyed. Now the trick here is when you're lining up on a linear target like this from a distance, is to aim at the back opposite corner. So we're going to try and aim at the back left corner of the runway, so we kind of cross the runway a little bit diagonal. And as you can see, the neighbors are saying hello, fairly aggressive fashion. We're almost there. Right, over the runway and pick up. And let's get out of here. So you can see we actually got all 8 bombs on the runway. That's the thing you want to watch for, is that you'll get a runway hit message for every bomb that actually hits the runway. You have 8. So 8 would be a perfect score. Mind you also have to hit 8 and live to tell the tale, which is what we're in the process of trying to do here now. So we're just going to fly a little bit low, go around the headland before we pop back up. Okay, so that's the waypoint method of doing this mission. So once again, we set waypoint 1 in the mission design, in the mission editor. We set waypoint 1 as a waypoint off the end of the runway, and then we fly to that point, and then we know the bearing that we have to fly from that point to get to the runway heading in the right direction. Now the other method of doing that is called the target method, and we'll fly it again. Won't bother going through the cockpit setup because it's identical. In this case, though, when we come into the mission, we're actually pointed at the target, which is waypoint 1. We don't want to fly to the target because we won't arrive going in the right direction. So instead, we're going to turn about due north, which is going to take us towards that original waypoint from the last mission. It isn't really critical if we fly exactly due north. What is critical is that we fly kind of at right angles to the target, until the BDHI tells us that the target is bearing 40 degrees from where we are. So that means that if at that point we turn towards the target, we'll be flying at 40 degrees and flying towards the target. So we should arrive at the target going in the right direction. So we just need to keep an eye on the BDHI. When the white needle aims at just about 40 degrees, then we're going to want to turn and bring the needle back to the top of the BDHI underneath the little white triangle, and at that point we're going to be flying towards our target at 40 degrees, and then the distance numbers are actually going to start counting down to the target this time. Instead of counting up from the waypoint, they'll count down to the target. Okay, so we're just watching that white needle. It's around 30 degrees. Still got a ways to go. As we did in the last run, yeah, you see, we're almost at 40 degrees. As we did in the last run, when we get within about 5 miles of the target, we'll do a little pop-up so we can spot the runway and adjust our approach so we're going straight down the runway. So it won't end up being that much different than what we did last time. It's really just a matter of preference how you want to use it. So there, we're making the turn because the BDHI is pointed at 40 degrees. Now we're going to continue the turn until the needle is pointing up under the little triangle, which means we're flying at the target, and that should also be at about 40 degrees. Take a quick check of our artificial horizon, and you can see that our heading is about 40 degrees. We got the needle pointed at the target triangle at the top, so we're good. Now it's just a matter of staying low and waiting for the distance to count down, just like last time. Stay nice and low. There, okay, we're getting pretty close. 7 miles. Right around 5 is probably where we want to pop up. We want to be close enough that we don't actually have to pop too high. But we also don't want to be so close that when we pop up, we're actually in the range. Okay, somewhere around there. Don't have to go too high. Just keep looking. Find that runway. Okay, it's to the left this time. So pull ourselves around to the left. Once again, get down and then come out the runway from one corner to the other, just like we did last time. We're going to go over here. Left. Down under 500 again. Back around. The neighbors saying hello. Okay, once again, we're going to aim at the far corner of the runway. Stay nice and low. A little bit of jinking. Once we're over the runway, we pick. And once again, we got all 8 hits. Gotta remember, even when we're egressing, to keep jinking a little bit. Some of those flak gunners are a little bit persistent. But so long as we stay low, we should be alright. Definitely still around. Alright, well that's the Runway Runaway instant action mission done 2 ways. Both methods, just different methods of using the Nav Computer. Doesn't really change the attack very much. It's a good little mission if you want to fly low and fast and drop some snake eyes on a runway, and also learn a little bit about how to use the Nav Computer in the A-4E. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you do fly it, drop by the Discord server and let us know how you do. Remember, if you are enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe to the channel. And for now, this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.